Great news, everyone! Event number 3577 is underway, with our roster of unoriginal but slightly different characters that are going to be here for the next 12 months, so don't stay too invested in them. I hate myself and everyone around me. Hooray!
Marvel, there is another way.
What foolishness! The death of others shall fuel my everlasting hatred of mankind. Fear and hatred shall rule the day. Rip and tear! Rip and tear!
We can make content for our readers with a strong focus on quality and character work. Comics can be fun to read and accessible to everyone.
No! Comics need to overreach and further our own private and weirdly omnipresent agenda.
We finally fired Eddie Brazanga. Things are actually looking up over here.
Well, it's not like abusers work at our company, or any others in the comic book industry. Right? I mean, is that right?
We're stealing Brian Michael Bendis.
No! Hello and welcome to Comic Island. My name is Arden, and oh my god, DC Comics are great again! Alright, cut it out! It's been a good year in the world of comics. The continued run of DC Rebirth has been a lot of fun, and such a great direction forward for the comics. We got the fun yet simple event in Justice League vs. Suicide Squad at the beginning of this year, a range of impressive and well-made stories and smaller crossovers such as The Button or Superman Reborn, and a host of other content in each series so good and so fun, it kind of boggles the mind. In the latter half of this year, we also got DC Metal, an event that has taken comic book readers by storm, getting people talking about it and getting people interested in these comics. That's always great to see, and seeing it here in Metal means that the event has to be doing something right. Not everyone has been on board with this particular event, but I've enjoyed the crap out of it, and I just love these new villains that are apparently here to stay beyond the event. That's really cool, and I'm glad these new Dark Knights aren't just around as one-off villains, because they are very interesting and have cool backstories. Meanwhile, the Doomsday Clock, the big event that pretty much all of Rebirth seems to have been building up to, has just kicked off. The event's going to be big, and if all the build-up and mystery surrounding this event is paid off on the level that's been set up over the last year, we are in for a hell of a story, the size and scale of which could dwarf even DC Metal itself. During this time, DC has scooped up some pretty talented creators, the most notable example of that being Brian Michael Bendis. I'm glad for him and think the move is the exact sort of shot in the arm he needs as a writer, given the quality of some of his recent comics. Not all of them. Spider-Man's been great, and it's going to be really sad to see him leave the character, but both he and Marvel really were getting into this rut together, and I'm glad that they are parting ways. I think it'll be best for the both of them, and DC will benefit too, and therefore we will benefit too, and that's all great. Looking over at Marvel, well, Marvel had two events this year, the first being Monsters Unleashed, which was about as fun and simple as Justice League vs. Suicide Squad, and Secret Empire. I recently did a whole video about my mixed feelings surrounding that particular event, and I think it's fair to say the critical consensus of that one is mixed at best. Like, that's being fair, right? Following Secret Empire, in a patently obvious attempt to double on the success of DC's Rebirth, Marvel has launched their own soft reboot this year in the form of Marvel Legacy. While there have been some good comics under this new line, the reception of it feels like it has been pretty lukewarm. I like that they returned to the comics to their original numbering. That's nice, but a small consolation when the comics feel like more of the same. The same problematic, half-hearted content we've been getting out of the company since Secret Wars. I don't know if it's just me or what it is, but I haven't been into these Marvel comics as late, and I don't know what to say. They're just boring. While the characters in the world of DC feel alive and dynamic, Marvel's feel stagnant and slow in meaningful change. Superman and Batman are family men now. and dealing with major changes within each of their status quo, contrary to the very ludicrous and long-standing notion that drama ends when characters are happy and married. Ugh. That still bothers me. Hal Jordan and the other older Green Lanterns find themselves in leadership positions, while the two newest Green Lanterns, Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz, are learning the ropes acting as the Lanterns in charge of protecting Earth. I could go on and on through each character in DC's wide and growing roster of publications, but you should get the idea by now. DC is moving forward with their characters in big ways, in an unprecedented move never really seen before in the pages of DC and Marvel. Not on this level, not like this. We'd see characters retire and go off to live their happily ever after married, but this time they're actually taking the characters and keeping them as superheroes, but with a family. It's not unprecedented, there's no reason we can't do this, but it's amazing how afraid writers have been in doing this for so long. It's difficult to look at this, to review the year in comics, and not come to any other conclusion than DC wins. DC pretty much won the comic book year in 2016, and they can take the same accolade for 2017. 2 years in a row, they did it. They made the content I most enjoyed. They did a lot of great work behind the scenes at making the company a better environment to work under, and they did so well in sales they have been able to consistently expand their lineup throughout the year with new and interesting titles worth reading along the way. Look, I get it, we shouldn't give them too much credit for doing a bunch of stuff they should have done a long time ago, but I'm happy they've done it. I'm happy we're moving forward and actually getting interesting content out of this company. Marvel, in comparison, didn't fail or even suffer that much in terms of sales, but they have not captured the same levels of interest and excitement in the comic book community when compared to DC. Not by any barometer that I have. And a lot of fans I talk to seem pretty dissatisfied overall with the work from this company over the last year. Not everyone, but I think there's a significant portion of the community that has significant, real complaints in regards to this company. Some do for DC too, and there's always a gem and good comics coming out of Marvel. But when it comes to the big picture, to the larger narrative around these two companies, Marvel is feeling more and more dry and samey. Talent seems to be shifting away from the company faster than they are accruing exciting and new creators. And something just feels off. Like the full creative force of the company isn't being used properly, not in the way that they have over the last 10 years. There's plenty of examples pre-Secret Wars of Marvel doing great, and even if not every comic was great, having this strong direction to them that I think they're lacking in the modern age, and it's surprising. I don't have a good explanation for it at this point. It's beyond just their corporate agenda. Recently, we learned longtime editor-in-chief Axel Alonso is stepping down and will be replaced by C.B. Cebulski, longtime talent scout for the company. Hopefully, he can give this publishing line some new life and energy, and more important than anything, a sense of focus, because the company is in sore need of it. In fact, I wouldn't even give Marvel the silver medal in the comic book world of 2017. That would definitely go to a company like IDW, who have been quietly putting out solid work and growing their own little niche audience. Even Archie Comics have been doing a great job at reinventing themselves over the last few years. No, Marvel isn't bad, they just feel like they're falling behind not only DC, but the entire industry. This judgment on my part isn't really any bias against Marvel. That would be strange considering on average I like Marvel's characters a little more than DC. And it's not part of some weird political agenda. I don't really run with that crowd either. What I'm judging here and what I'm looking at is the quality of the comics on average, and more than anything else, right now, DC is winning. At least in terms of the comic book world. Well, DC had a pretty strong showing in the world of TV and video games this year, as did Marvel to a lesser degree. Anything I've said about the two companies in this video couldn't be less true in the world of these massive films. Warner Brothers enjoyed quite a bit of success with Wonder Woman this year. Yet when comparing the company to Spider-Man Homecoming, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and Thor Ragnarok, well, the DC movies are falling very far behind, very quickly. Justice League in comparison wasn't bad, but it had an embarrassing domestic box office opening, which really doesn't look good. And the troubling news about what happened to this movie behind the scenes doesn't exactly suggest a stable environment in the company's film line whatsoever. Let alone all the stuff about potentially needing to recast Batman and all the other nonsense. So yes, DC may have won the world of comics, but they are kind of losing the world of movies, and very badly at that. It's a real issue the company is going to have to deal with in the future years, but I do think they can salvage things if they take a little page from the Rebirth comics, put a real focus on quality, and stop interfering with things at the editing level of these movies. Amusingly, as strong as Marvel was with this year in the world of film, I'd have to give the real winner this year to Fox in terms of comic book movies, who showed us with Logan that you can tell a really different kind of story through the lens of superheroes without compromising artistic integrity, and still make a movie that is both fun and deeply moving. So that's pretty much my review of the year in terms of comic books, superheroes, and all the other related media. In all other areas other than film, DC is doing well, while pretty much the opposite can be said of Marvel. It's not a big deal, but it is worth noting. These things tend to come and go in waves and cycles of sorts, so I wouldn't expect things to stay like this for too long. Just 2 years ago, Marvel was riding high with Secret Wars, while DC embarrassed themselves with a story called Convergence. Things can change in the blink of an eye with these two companies, but we here at Comic Island intend to stick around and keep you guys posted throughout all of it. So that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Was DC a big success this year for you in the world of comics, or do you disagree? I know not everybody is on board the Rebirth train the way I am and a lot of other people I'm talking to, so by all means, let me know your thoughts on the whole matter and what this year meant to you in the world of comic books and superheroes and all of that stuff. It's always interesting to hear from you guys on that matter. And yeah, if you like this video, please check out our Patreon page in the video description below. You can find a lot of interesting ways to help contribute to our channel there. Finally, don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep reading comics.